So today I'm going to talk about three important things that I took away from my COM 252 class. The first one is apologies. The next one is talking to adolescents about drugs and alcohol. And the last one is going to be the spiral of silence theory. So, an apology is when someone or you does something that hurts someone and you need to show sincerity and regret by saying sorry and that you're not going to do it again. I learned a lot about apologies from hurting my friend's feelings and having to own up to it. The relationship was me and my roommate slash friend Megan. One night we decided to go to P.F. Chang's to eat. Well, we both ordered the same thing. And 2 days later, I was cleaning out the refrigerator, and I accidentally threw her food in the refrigerator away because I thought it was mine. I didn't do it on purpose. I totally thought it was mine because we got the same thing, and I didn't eat mine, so I just assumed it was mine. And when she got home that night, she was very upset with me. And I was like, Megan, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And I really did feel bad. And she saw that. So she accepted my apology. And another skills that I learned from that is respect. You need to learn to respect other people's stuff and not take it. We should have put our names on it. And that way it would have played a big difference. So we wouldn't have got confused. But the outcome that is that I won't do it again. And in worst case, I should have just asked her. It would have taken a little longer, but I would have known. And I improved in terms of like double checking things and making sure so next time that I know it's mine and I don't have to worry about it again. So, the next thing that we are going to talk about is the spiral of silence theory. So, last year I took a class on gender and spiral of silence theory really fit in. So the spiral of silence theory is an agreement rather of disagreement. People choose to fight against conformity. So you voice an opinion if you feel it's supported. So for example, in my class, it was sociology and we talked a lot on gender, especially coming off of a political campaign, an election. Um, Gender was something that was often talked about, especially that was going on in the media. Well, my professor often voiced her side, which wasn't what I felt, and the whole class often agreed with her and her side. So it left me just sitting there because I couldn't say anything because I would feel left out. And with the spiral of silence theory, people don't like to argue. That's the whole point behind it. It makes people are quiet because if they don't agree with them. So the other skills that I was using in that was that I chose not to speak out because I knew if I did, I'd be made fun of and felt left out. So the spiral of silence theory taught me that people are going to disagree, and that's okay. But sometimes it's just better to keep quiet because you don't want to start an argument. The outcomes was that there's no arguments. The professor just did what she wanted, and we all just agreed with her, and then we got to voice our opinions when it came to our evaluations. But it didn't improve anything because it was just her side, and people like me were just left to be quiet because we didn't want to argue with her. We didn't want to make things difficult for her because then we would just look dumb because she was the professor and that's what she taught us. So, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is talking with adolescents about drugs and alcohol. And that is actually what Kate talked about in her presentation. So, it is very difficult to talk to adolescents about drugs and alcohol, especially in this day and age with the media being so involved in everything and people often feel left out if they're not doing what they think can be perceived as cool. So, one example of talking with adolescents about drugs and alcohol would be that my sister, she is getting ready to graduate from high school, and I know that when she gets to college, it's just going to be very difficult for her to avoid the drinking because she's underage, and drugs can be really bad in college because kids have such easy access to them, and their parents give them money, so that's what they spend them on. They use their book money to buy drugs or whatever. So, for to talk with adolescents about drugs and alcohol is to teach them how to refuse, explain, avoid, and leave the situations. So I have not actually used this yet, but when I go home for Christmas break, I plan to use it with my sister who's getting ready to come to college. I need to teach her how to behave in those situations, avoiding drugs and alcohol. Honesty is a skill that she would need to have, and the outcome that I hope to use her appeal to her emotions so that she sees that by doing drugs, especially too much drugs, or drinking, because she is so tiny that she could get hurt, that it could end up killing her in the long run, even if she like doesn't mean for that to do so. I think that it'll make a difference by using real world examples and like learning that it's okay that you're not doing what everybody else is doing. So I plan to teach her when I go home, and hopefully that the things that Kate taught us, refuse, explain, avoid, and to leave the situations, will help me. I'm going to teach her that she needs to say no and explain why, because she's too young and she needs to avoid the situation. So don't be at a place where you think there's going to be drugs. And if you are, then you need to leave the situation. Thank you guys for watching.